Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome dear students. This is a video for the subject of education, for the course of Bachelor's in Education and for the paper of Educational Technology Part 2. This video lecture is based on the approaches of educational technology, and in this lecture we will be talking about the steps involved in the systems approach. This video lecture is recorded by Dr. Iram Khan. The course coordinator and the presenter of this video is Dr. Iram Khan from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. The academic expert or the reviewer of this video is Dr. Savita Kaushal from Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. This video is produced under the project DTH Swayamprabha Channels of Ministry of Education, Government of India. Hello dear students, I am Dr. Iram Khan, Assistant Professor at Institute of Advanced Studies in Education, Faculty of Education, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. Today I am going to talk about the approaches of educational technology, and in this lecture we will be discussing the steps involved in the systems approach. Let us first see that what are the objectives. The objectives of this session are to discuss the systems approach and to delineate the major steps involved in the systems approach. We all know that the systems approach is a technique which is based on the concept and the basic parameters where it talks about the system. It talks about the organization and the management of a system. It also talks about the understanding, the prediction, and the controlling of the operation of a system in a given environment, and what exactly this entire system is trying to do. It is trying to achieve the predetermined objectives in an intelligent, efficient, and economic way. And in this particular approach, which we know as with the name of systems approach, a problem is taken into account in its totality, and the attempts are made to solve this problem in the context of two important things. The first is the predetermined objectives, and the second point is the functioning of its interrelated parts and the whole system under the given environmental constraint. So these are the two important contexts under which we see that how the problem is solved here in a very systematic way when we are following this approach, which is called as the systems approach. So in its basic functioning, the system approach tries to have a reasonable control over the inputs, the process, the outputs, and also the environmental constraints. A system is basically maintained if it meets the requirements of the objectives of the system, and if it does not uh, actually maintains the needs and the requirements of the system, then we need to modify the system. We can say that because the objectives are not met, that is why there is a need to modify the system and make it in a way to function so that the set objectives can be met. And in consequence, we can see that there arises a need for adjustment either in the contents of whatever is being input, or even we can go for seeing that what exactly is to be changed in the process. So either there is an adjustment made in the content or in the process, or at times we have to go for the adjustment in the both things, the input as well as the process. And also there may be a need for the change and the development in the existing norms under which the whole system operates. And in this way, various modes of adjustment which are involved, or you can say that these adjustments which are involving the parameters or the components and also the functioning of the system, they all are tried and the most feasible one is retained. And for what purpose this most important or most properly functioning system is retained? It is retained for getting the best result or the best output. So this is somehow the basics of understanding the systems approach, or what exactly uh, the process of working of the systems approach is all about. Let us see that what are the steps which are involved in the systems approach. So if we talk about the steps, there are three major steps which are involved in the systems approach. The first step is the system analysis. The second step is the system design and development, and the third step is the systems operation and evaluation. And all these three steps are very, very important. They go one by one, and they are very important in terms of uh, following the systems approach. So let us see that what exactly these three steps mean. We will get into the details of these three steps. So the first step, which is known as the system analysis, basically what it means, system analysis is concerned with the task of analyzing a system in the form of identifying whatever are the elements of this system. So what we do in the system analysis, we actually do the task of analyzing this system in the form of identifying its elements and how these elements are organized. So we will be analyzing their organization and how they are functioning. So the next thing which we will analyze after the organization, we will see that how their function or the performance individually, individually of all the parts, and also as a whole, in order to see that, or in order to determine the need to make the adjustment to ensure the achievement of the system. So we will be analyzing all these things, all these uh, basic tasks, and these tasks in the nomenclature of systems approach, we call them as the parameters. And we all know that these parameters are known as the input, the process, the output, and the environmental constraints. So this helps the designer of the system to identify the constraints that interfere in the attainment of the objectives of the system, the stipulated objectives of the system. And through this analysis or the system analysis, the appropriateness of the system objectives in the view of the structure and functioning of the system may also be properly evaluated. So this gives an idea that this first step of system analysis is very, very important, because after this system analysis, we can get to know that what are the ailments or what are the features which are either to be retained or to be adjusted, so that the system works in a very proper way, and we can be in a position to get the best output which is possible. The stipulated objectives are properly attained. So the system analysis, which is the first step, is something which we have to do in a very proper way. The next step is the system's design and development. What exactly it means? So the system analysis which we have just seen basically is concerned with the analysis of the entire system. This particular point of systems design and the development, this is related with the task of synthesizing, adding. So we are making a synthesis here. So what happens that here there are attempts which are made to design and to develop the system on the basis of finding which we have received or which we have got from where? From the system analysis. So whatever we have received from the system analysis uh, in the form of the readings or records, that particular information is now implemented to improve the design and also to develop the system. So there are few activities which are actually done here in this step when we are talking about the systems design and the development, which is the second step. Let us see that what are those important activities which we have to do here in this step. The first thing is to determine or to check the objectives of a system. Then the next point is to select or making a selection of appropriate devices, methods, or the strategies, and also the approaches. And then the third point is formulating a scheme of comprehensive programs for the working of the system in relation to its parameters and the stipulated objectives. And by parameters, we mean the input, the process, the output, and also the environmental constraints. And the stipulated objectives are those objectives which are the basis of designing a system which is in front of us and which is in function. So these two are basically work in the system in close consonance. So here in the systems design and development, we actually work on the devices, the methods, the strategies, and to formulate the entire changes, or if there are some alterations required or some adjustments required, whatever we have analyzed in the first step, we try to implement all those in this in the design of the system in this stage, and we try to develop the system in a way that it works in the best possible speed or best possible way. So this is the second step, which is the systems design and the development. Then the next is systems operation and evaluation. What is done here? See, the systems operation and the evaluation, it is concerned with the actual operation of a system and also its evaluation. And why this evaluation is done? It This evaluation is done in terms of the uh, checking off that whether the stipulated objectives which are actually set in the beginning, and what purpose was there? The purpose was for providing necessary feedback to bring desirable improvement and modification in the structure and functioning of the system. So we do the evaluation so that we can see that whether the stipulated objectives which are set at the beginning, they all are covered or not, they all are attained or not, well, once the system is operational. And if there are any sort of issues, then immediately the feedback, after the evaluation, the feedback is actually given, and desirable improvement or the modification in the structure and also in few of the cases the function in the functioning of the system is made. And if the output of a system meet the expectations or requirements of the stipulated objectives or the norms, the system can be allowed to carry on. It gives a kind of impression that the system is smoothly working. There is no any problem because we are getting the objectives, we are attaining the stipulated objectives, and we are getting the exact output which was desired. It means that the system is working very properly, so we can let the system carry on in the same way. So this need for bringing necessary alteration or improvement in the system is, if it is felt, uh, what will be the case when we can actually find this necessity coming across. So if there is a discrepancy between any of the two things, like any of the two parameters, we all know the parameters which are input, output, input process, then output, and also the environmental constraints. So if there is a discrepancy found between any of the two, we can say, or we can make out that now there is some sort of improvement which is required in the system. So what are those uh, ways in which we can make the alterations happen, or we can modify the system? Those ways can be, the first way can be by the manipulation in the elements or inputs of the system. Then the next can be by pulling the functions of elements or inputs. What does it mean? Pulling the functions of elements or input. We are actually making the some sort of force or some sort of pressure on that element which is responsible for the input. So there is a possibility that the function or functioning of that particular part through which the input is made, there is some ailment or some problem in that particular part. So we can make changes. We can actually see that what exactly that input uh, providing device or section is having, or what sort of problem is having, and then we can actually pull it out and we can make a change in that device or that part of the system which is used for providing the input. And after doing this, few of the times we have seen that the problem is resolved. Then next, what can be done? By making the control or controlling the process and interaction among the elements of the system. At times it happens that once the system is working, the elements of the system are not working very properly. The interaction between the parts of the system is not very swift or very fluid. So we have to see that what are those points, what are those things which are checked once the system is functioning, and we need to control. We should be keeping an eye and we should be controlling the process and also the interaction among the elements of the system. Then what next can be done? By making some sort of manipulations in the environmental constraints of the system, it is seen at many cases that we can actually receive better results, better outputs. So this manipulation in the environmental constraints can also be one of the ways in which uh, we can actually get rid of all those discrepancies which are found in the functioning of a system. So this was the third step, which is the systems operation and evaluation, which actually is responsible for the functioning of this entire system, which is in practice. So in this way, the system can be restructured, reorganized, and its functioning can also be replanned. And when everything is redone, then automatically the reoperated system will be providing some sort of better results. So we can achieve better results from this reoperated or replanned system, which is having all those components which are included on the basis of whatever analysis was done. The analysis was done to see that where the problem is there, and then on the basis of that particular result of the analysis, we made the modifications or alterations in the system, and then we can find that now the system is providing the better results. So these processes are continued, and this is continued till the aim of getting the best result in terms of the stipulated objective. with greater economy, because when we are running the system, we also have to see that how the system works in a very economical way, very precise way, in an accurate manner. So all these processes are continued. The processes of modification or alteration in the systems are continued till the aim of getting best results in terms of the stipulated objectives with great economy, precision and accuracy is not achieved. So in this way, the system in the systems approach work and provides the best possible output. So let us try to recapitulate what we have studied today in this session. We have seen that a system, if it meets the requirements of its stipulated objectives, the entire machinery or the entire system is maintained as it is, because it is meeting the requirements. But in case the requirements are not met, requirements in terms of the stipulated objectives, if they are not met, then the system is supposed to be modified or altered. And why this is to be done? Because we want the best possible output in terms of the stipulated objectives. Then we have seen that there are three major steps which are involved in the systems approach. What are those steps? The first step is the system analysis. What is done here? In this particular step, the task of analyzing a system in terms of the identification, organization and performance of its elements is done. And we get to know that which part individually and as a whole is working in which way. Is it working properly or not? If it is not working properly, then in the next step the alterations can be done. So analysis step is very important, because we want to know that how the functionality of this system is actually done. Then the next step or the second step is systems design and development. In this step, the designing and the development of the system on the basis of the first step or the systems analysis. The results which we have received in the system analysis is basically executed. So we make an alteration if there is a requirement of a change, if there is some ailment in the system. So we make alterations or modifications in the design, and we develop the system in a way so that it is able to give the best possible output according to the achievement of the stipulated objectives. The third and the final step is related to systems operation and evaluation. What exactly it does? This is the final step. So here the actual operation of the system and its evaluation for providing the necessary feedback is done. So here this is the operational step. So we need to see, we actually need to check that what exactly is the efficiency of the system, and on the basis of whatever we get as a result in this evaluation, which is finally done, we provide the necessary feedback to the developer, so that if the system requires some sort of changes in future, the developer would be aware of that what are those changes which are to be done, so that we can run a very effective and precise system. So this was all about the different steps of the systems approach. We will meet with each other in another session, another time, and we will deal with another aspect of systems approach in another session. For today, this is all. These are those references and the suggested readings which you can also follow for studying more related to this topic, and you can make yourself more updated in terms of the systems approach by reading these texts. So this is all for today. Thank you so much. We will see each other in another session another time. Goodbye. Dear students, you are watching a video on approaches of educational technology, and this lecture talked about the different steps involved in the systems approach. This video lecture was recorded by faculty at home during the homebound situation of COVID-19 pandemic using minimal technical resources. Technical errors, if any, are unintentional and may please be ignored. For any queries with regard to this lecture or broadcast, kindly send your email to techsupport@dth.ac.in. Thank you so much.